Hey friends, friends. It's 5:30 in California, so I got to talk softly, and I decided to do things differently. Most times I get up and I have my cup of coffee and I start to work on my book and pray, and then I'll do these teachings later on. But I decided to do things a bit different by the Spirit of God. So this message today, I think I'm going to entitle it, "This is the time for you to become free." God is doing something new in this world. He's doing a new work, and in order to step into a new work, you must put off the old. And we hear the scripture about, it's time to put off the old and enter into the new. But when you really start to focus and meditate on that scripture from God's perspective, it's not just saying we got to put away the old and do the new. It truly has to be a deep work of God, very, very deep, where the old ways of doing things, the old hurts, especially the old hurts, are really gone. And those things can never happen by you or I simply giving a quick prayer or confessing or decreeing scripture. No, no, no. Those kind of things happen by a deep work of the Spirit of God. And that deep work can in many ways only be done through an intercessory prayer life. God has to go very deep by His Spirit in you until truly the old is removed. And that's a process. And that's what freedom is. Freedom is an absolute removal of the old way, the old pains, the old habits, the old ways, the old manners of doing things, and entering into something brand new. And that's what I'm going through. I've been a Christian for 40 years, but I see myself now that God is calling me to really get rid of the things that have bogged me down, the open doors that demons have hit me with after 40 years with the Lord. So this is a time to get free. And I went to a ministry meeting in my church in California. And one of the prayer warriors mentioned a word called encouragements versus bullseyes. Encouragements versus bullseyes. And she was talking about words of prophecy. So I want to talk about the words of prophecy here. And I also want to talk about encouragements versus bullseyes when it comes to personal freedom. And I want to read to you from Romans 8, verse 26. And I've discussed this verse before, so I'm not going to go over it too much. But Romans 8:26 says, in the same way, the Spirit comes to us. This is from the Amplified. The Spirit comes to us and helps us in our weaknesses. We do not know what prayer to offer or how to offer it as we should, but the Spirit Himself knows our need and at the right time intercedes on our behalf with sighs and groanings too deep for words. And He who searches, verse 27, the heart knows what the mind of the Spirit is, because the Spirit intercedes before God on behalf of God's people in accordance with God's will. What I've discussed there is that the word intercession from the Greek comes from the word to that God helps our infirmities comes from three Greek words, which means that God comes face to face with us and takes our burdens. And the word for intercession comes from two Greek words, which means to hit the bullseye with accuracy. The bullseye. So that verse basically says that when we don't know how to become free, or we don't know how to pray for people, we don't know how to pray for ourselves, that we get in a quiet place before God, and God comes, He helps our infirmities. The Spirit of God comes face to face in the Spirit with us, and He takes our burdens before God. And then He says He intercedes. The Spirit Himself intercedes. That means He takes those burdens and then He hits the bullseye of God's will. So when that girl said encouragement versus bullseyes, two things that means to me. She was talking about prophecy. That's very true. This is a time for details. If we're going to become free in the Lord, the devil is not the only one that's into the details. God is more into the details than what the devil is. And freedom comes, this new work of becoming free, this new work of putting off the old and doing the new comes in coming into a quiet place before God. Quiet place and waiting until God gives you the details. If there's a burden that you cannot become free from, the issue is you gotta come into a quiet place. It cannot come as you're driving to work or stopping to get a coffee. No. You wait and you get the details. You say, God, why have I not been able to break through? Or why have I not gotten healed after 30 years of praying? What is the torment? What is the bondage? What is the situation? And it's in the details. The details. See, intercession is the bullseye. If you're going to hit the bullseye, you got to be very precise. So today, freedom comes by coming into a quiet place and getting the details of what you need. Usually for me, it means getting on your knees and then praying and allowing the Spirit of God to expose the very roots of what I'm going through and pray into the details. That's where freedom comes in. She was talking about prophecy, and prophecy is the same thing. Encouragements, many people give words of encouragement to people, and encouragements are great, but many times encouragements are not prophecies that fully come from the Lord, because encouragements can be a very long word. Prophecies are usually very detailed, very on target words, and usually very, very brief words. A true prophecy from the Lord usually is brief, usually lasts. It can be longer, but usually it's a minute and a half, and even less. And it's in those detailed words that come by the Spirit of God that God's glory moves in a meeting and does something. So, encouraging words are good, but today God is into bullseye words, brief words, brief prophecies that are by the details of God, and they do a work in the Spirit, in the meeting, or with the person that you're in. I can't tell you enough that today is a day for the church to put away just encouragements and confessions. Look, confessions are important. Decrees are important. And that kind of stuff is important. But more important is praying, prophesying, obeying, doing things by the detailed words of God. And today, the way to become free, especially from things that you've been praying for many, many years, and the answers do not come, is coming and praying and interceding according to the details, to the specific things that God shows you. More will be accomplished by you into coming before God and coming into a quiet place and just closing your eyes and saying, God, show me why after 30 years of praying and fasting, I'm still not free. And you'll be surprised that when you just wait on the Lord and spend that half an hour, those 15 or 20 minutes, and get these specific details of what God is telling you and pray, you'll see more freedom come to you in 30 minutes than in years of just confessing and decreeing all these things. Okay? So today, my friends, it's time to move on from encouragements to bullseyes. God is a God of encouragement, but intercession in the Spirit is a case of God hitting the bullseye of His will because you're praying according to the details of what God's telling you to do. Okay, my friend, God bless you and have a wonderful, what day is today? Have a wonderful Wednesday. Bye-bye.